Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. This series is My History in Board Games, where I talk about all the games I've played since I started recording stats in January 2020. It's just brief overviews of the games I've played, how I feel about them, whether they're in the collection or not. And it's just 5 games per video. So strap in and let's get the next 5 done. Number 16 is Horrified, released in 2019. This is a pandemic-esque game. Co-op where you are working together as various characters with special abilities and you're trying to stop a bunch of monsters. In this case, the sort of classic universal monsters from the old 1930s movies. So Dracula, the Mummy, the werewolf, things like that. This is a really good game and I prefer the Horrified system to the pandemic system, if I'm honest. You have this cool little map with different locations around the town and you're trying to rescue citizens before they get taken by these monsters. But what I really like about this, so in Pandemic you have the 4 viruses, but it's just 4 viruses. The only difference between them is the locations on the map. So, you know, the red are off to Asia and the blue are sort of Europe and North America. In here you have different classic movie monsters, and I believe you play with different amounts depending on the difficulty you want. So we usually just pair up 2 monsters. And they each have their own criteria for taking out, their own special rules. So it's not just a case of, you know, all 4 monsters need you to collect 4 cards and you're done. And that keeps it really interesting because of the combinations you can have with the different monsters that come with the game. Yeah, so you're collecting these tokens around the board and trying to get stuff done. And you can be killed and you get sent back to a specific start location. And then this tracker is counting down every time that happens. You get closer and closer to losing the game. But yeah, I love the art style for this. There are now, at the time of recording this video, I think there's 5 versions. You've got the original American Monsters, Greek mythology, Cthulhu, and the new Dungeons and Dragons ones. I've only played the first 2. I'll talk about the second in a video much later down the line. But while the first one isn't my favourite of the 2 I've played, it's solid. It's a really good co-op game. It's that next level from things like Pandemic, from like Forbidden Island, Forbidden Desert. Well worth a go. Next, we have one of my all-time favourite games, Raiders of the North Sea, released in 2015. And it's not my favourite just because it's in a blue box, but it's worker placement with a really clever twist. It comes with the standard Miko artwork that's used in all the medieval trilogy games, and it's just absolutely fantastic. I say that a lot about games, especially the ones I like, but it really, really is. So a typical worker placement game, you are having, you have a set of meeples, and each turn you put one out to carry out an action. This one has a very clever 1-in, 1-out mechanic where you place your only meeple. You only have 1 meeple, and you place that down on a spot, carry out the action, and then from the worker placement spots on the bottom of the board, you then retrieve a different worker and do that action. So it can get very tactical with you and the other players about what is where and when. And then it goes up another level because there's 3 types of workers. You start off with black workers, and then as you invade up the main board and you get to the sort of the little towns and the fortresses, you'll get access to grey workers, and then you get access to white workers. And the difference of these workers is that they do more or less powerful abilities in the village at the bottom of the board where all the worker placement spots are, but then you need certain coloured workers to access even higher sections of the board with a greater rewards and that. So it's not just about the actions you want to do, it's about getting that white worker when you need it, whether you want to do the action it's coming off of or not. Yeah, and like I say, the artwork, I love the Miko artwork. I went through the medieval trilogies. I got into them just because of the artwork. The Valeria games, same thing. I got hooked on the artwork first before I found the amazing games underneath. So I love all the artwork. There's 2 expansions for it. We have tried them a few times. They're great. And I know that the Raiders of Scythia, which is sort of a remake of Raiders of the North Sea, but it's a single game that kind of incorporates all that expansion stuff in. So if you haven't got Raiders and its expansions, and you're not fussed about the Miko's artwork, because the artwork is different for the Ancient Civilization games, it might be worth just picking up Raiders of Scythia to get the same kind of play feel to it. But yeah, Raiders of the North Sea, my favourite of that trilogy, one of my favourite Garfield games, and one of my favourite worker placement games. If you haven't tried it, you need to. So the next game is Pandemic, which came out in 2008, and I only mentioned it two games ago. But I played Pandemic after I played Horrified. So Horrified was one of my first ever proper big co-op games. But Pandemic is co-op. You're playing as different. You've got different character abilities, and you're moving your pawns around a world map. And the cities are all connected by different lines, so it kind of dictates how fast you can move around the map. And you are essentially putting out fires, but the fires here are plague cubes. You want to keep them low or get rid of them completely, because if they hit a certain threshold on a city, they'll get outbreaks. You're drawing city cards to get enough in your hand as a player to nullify that plague, that virus, sorry, so it either is in a weaker state or gone completely out of the game. That's the aim of the game, really, is to get rid of the viruses. But you can draw something called an epidemic card, which is like an event that comes up that makes things a lot worse. And it's the go-to when you're getting into the hobby, especially. It's the go-to co-op game to learn, sort of co-op mechanics. It's one of the big sort of 4 gateway games, along with Ticket to Ride, Catan, and Carcassonne. It does its job. I think it's, for me, I'm not really bothered by Pandemic anymore, and that's fine. It doesn't make it negative that I've played it before. It did its job. It got me into co-op games, and as I was getting into the hobby, and now, like, Andy's toys, they've been passed on. They've gone to other places. But I think an issue with the way that Pandemic is perceived is there are like Catan and like Monopoly. There are a lot of versions now. Some better than others. Some are just reskins. They do the same thing. Although I do like the Reign of Cthulhu one. That was my first ever go at a Pandemic game. Before I start recording stats. But there's other games as well. There's the Fall of Rome, which does something different with how the equivalent of the plague, moves around the board. Then there's the legacy games, and then there's the recent. There's a World of Warcraft version. There's the Star Wars Clone Wars version, and there's the very recent and well received Fellowship of the Ring that uses the Pandemic system. But the original game, not in our collection anymore. Great for new gamers, but I've had my time with it. Of course, not all of those early gateway games have to be expelled from our collections. The next game on my list is King of Tokyo, which was released in 2011, and it's a gateway game. It's a basic game, dice chucker. You are rolling really nice chunky dice, trying to take the health down of all your opponents and be the last monster standing, or be the first to score 20 points and take the victory that way. And it's so easy to teach. It is great as a gateway game. It's one of the simplest games. Roll dice, take results, hit, heal, get cards, score points. Boom, done. But it's there's something about just the monster standees and the chunky dice and the art on the cards. And I'm such a fan. I own the original. I own the New York sequel. I own the Monster Island. I own the Dual version. I own the Dark Edition. It's taken a lot of effort to not buy Origins because I don't need it. It's just a 4-player with the baby characters. There's the new Mindbug version that's just come out. There's a collaboration between Mindbug and King of Tokyo that I'm now seeing, and I'm like, I don't need it. But despite the fact that I got rid of Pandemic and Forbidden Island because I'd grown tired of their simplicity, I just can't get rid of King of Tokyo. I'm assuming most people have tried it. It's just a great cornerstone to a collection. And I have so many monsters to fight with now. I have a seagull. I got a seagull promotion for this. Seagull. Yeah, it's brilliant. The last game on today's list, number 20 in my history of board games, is a game called Geek Battle, which came out in 2012, I think. And it's just a basic party game. It's a geeky quiz game. You have a board with a track on it you're moving up, and it's Trivial Pursuit-esque in that you just have 6 categories of different kind of geek questions, like, you know, movies and books and stuff like that. It was all right. It was a gift. It was like a Christmas or birthday gift from somebody, and it's just it's great if you're all geeks. If there's a non-geek in there, I think they will suffer because it's called Geek Battle. So you have to have all of that nerdy goodness knowledge ready to go, and it's less about winning the game. It's more about who can out-geek each other with the most difficult questions and get those niche answers. But this was in sort of my collection before I started recording stats, when I had games like the blockbuster games and things like this, and I just never got around to playing it until early 2020. And I got a couple of games of it in, but I moved on to bigger fish to fry than a simple trivia game, and it didn't last long in the collection. But it's all right. It's good for, you know, like a Boxing Day evening if you're all around with a bunch of geeky friends. It passes the time. It's all right. And there we go. That's 20 games down and hundreds to go. I hope you stick with me through the entire series, because I'm not stopping. As always, you know, let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the games mentioned today. If you've played them, what you think of them. You can follow me on Instagram at alwaysplayblue, as well as over on the website alwaysplayblue.com, where I do weekly reviews and a monthly blog. And with that, I will see you in the next history lesson. I just realised I forgot to say like and subscribe. I know everyone does that on the videos, but apparently it helps an algorithm somewhere hidden away. So I'd really appreciate if you like the video, but more so if you subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with these releases. They are a lot of fun to make, and I appreciate every single one of you that watches them.